Hi, I'm Lian. I'm from Western Victoria in Australia, and I'm here to share a bit about my journey to health with y'all. I have been sick, was sick for probably around 30 years, developed a whole lot of weird and strange symptoms, and started seeing the doctor and the specialist and this person and that person, as you do, and you have this test and that test. I had 7 surgeries, so many tests, so many procedures, and none of them helped. Eventually, I started looking into more alternative medicine and went to a huge array of alternative practitioners and spent tens of thousands of dollars and tried different diets and loads of supplements and all the things that you do when you're searching for answers. I'll tell you just some of my symptoms and I'll read out the worst of them to you. So I was suffering from chronic headaches and optical migraines, hormonal dysregulation, pelvic pain, endometriosis, adenomyosis, body temperature dysregulation, hypersensitivities. Food was the worst, but light, sound, pet dander, chemicals, touch, EMF, chronic fatigue bouts, insomnia, brain fog, malaise, TMD, which is temporomandibular disorder, hypoglycemia, hyperglycemia, histamine issues, recurring bacterial eye infections, depression, anxiety, irritable bladder syndrome, SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, low blood pressure, dizziness, heart arrhythmia, POTS, which is postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, irritable bowel syndrome, malnutrition, bone density loss, and post-traumatic stress disorder. So, they were the majority of the symptoms. And as I say, I went everywhere, and I tried all kinds of things from acupuncture to chiropractic work to surgeries to visceral manipulation of my organs and all kinds of stuff. So nothing helped. We spent so much money and time. But that's what you do because you're desperate. Eventually, out of absolute desperation, one night I was looking online because that's what we do. We research and we learn. And I had been looking into gut health for 10 years and studying the microbiome, learned all about leaky gut and all kinds of things because food was the biggest issue. And one night I just was looking online and I must have typed in a different combination of words, and I found someone called Johanna who had a story just so similar to mine and just resonated so deeply with me. I was really interested, and I just binge watched all of the testimonies, and I ordered Annie's book and I read all about it and sort of looked into neuroplasticity a little bit, and I thought this is so worth a try. So that's what I did. At that point, I was 37 kilos, and that's something like 81 pounds. I was reacting to all foods apart from zucchini, silver beet, and celery, like your 3 most tasteless vegetables, and very fresh, slow-cooked meals, and it all had to be kind of cooked into a soup so it was easy to digest. So that was me for years, going everywhere with my little canister of soup if I could go out, because everything was going through me, and at times I didn't make it to the toilet, and it was absolutely demoralizing and debilitating and awful. And sometimes I just couldn't get off the toilet. If I made it to the toilet, I couldn't get off for 5 or 6 hours. So it's vomiting, diarrhea, and often I'd be there overnight and I'd even fall asleep on the toilet. Sometimes the vomiting would be so severe I would throw my back out, and I had chiropractic appointments. So those were some of the worst things that were going on at that time. And so I dived into DNRS, and it was during COVID. So in some ways that was a blessing because I was just at home anyway, and I had extra time and no obligations to stress me out. So I had been living with years of debilitating stress, years of illnesses, and some significant life events had occurred that was at the onset of some significant issues happening. And we kind of talk about a perfect storm of, physical, biological, psychological stresses that all coalesce, and your brain and your body just says no more. That was me. So I dove into the program, really having nothing to lose. And I felt this shift in my symptoms in about 2 weeks. And by 8 weeks, I was beginning to eat food that the family was eating. And I knew that this was, this was it. This was life-changing, and things were really turning around very, very quickly. So I had some ebbs and flows, ups and downs. I've had some, very stressful occasions where things have been triggered and symptoms have returned, but I've known how to deal with that. I've got the tools of DNRS, and I know what to do. And I now believe I'll never have chronic symptoms. I do still actually have a couple of symptoms, and they're ongoing, but I'm managing totally fine. I'm not anxious about them at all. And now that I know about the way the brain works, I'm totally convinced in time they'll diminish. They'll just go. I recognized that these principles of DNRS are actually found in the Bible. And for me as a Christian, that was really encouraging, and that inspired me to, really dive into the Bible again in a new way. And there were some more challenges, with COVID finishing and me going out into the world and enlarging my world again, because it had shrunk to such a tiny state that I was so isolated. I was so anxious. I was so depressed, as you can imagine, with that list of symptoms, and especially that IBS. So, there were some challenges, and there were some ups and downs and ebbs and flows, but that's all part of the process. That happens for everybody to a greater or a lesser extent. And I'm doing great. And it's now been 3 years, and I am living life, loving life, studying neuroplasticity, and heading in good places. Actually, I'm camping, I've just come back from camping at the beach. I'm eating everything and loving food, cooking again, and just, reintegrated into life. So thankful, so very grateful to Annie and her program. And look, if you're not a Christian, it's not a Christian program. It doesn't actually mention anything specifically about a specific kind of faith. So it's for everyone. And if you have any ongoing chronic symptoms, I just want to share that this is powerful and effective. And I really loved the forum. I made friends with people all over the world, and we still email back and forth a bit and contact one another. And, who knows, maybe one day I'll go to Canada or the US and meet people who also went through the program, and they know things that just nobody else understands. So it's so good. And they have a really safe, positive environment and space where you can share and ask questions. There's no shame. There's no embarrassment. You keep symptom talk a really absolute minimum, but you support one another, and you laugh and you celebrate and you cheer each other on. And, through thick and thin, that's me, through thin and now thick, we're still there for each other, and it's awesome. So again, you've got nothing to lose and everything to gain. So I encourage you, have a go. It's amazing. So do it. That's it.